Well, I'd like to welcome everybody in tonight's presentation by Holborn. My name is Bassem Fauzi. I am an investment advisor with Holborn. As most of us know, Holborn is a UAE-based company. It's an international wealth management firm. The company operates in 18 countries registered, and each and every country that we operate in, there's a whole long list of countries. There's no point to list them. Um, Without further ado, I would like to introduce the panel that we have tonight. First, I have my colleague Kapil, and I have with us Mufti Faraz and Carl from Holborn that will guide us tonight through the Wakala Note, and I'll give it to Carl. Meanwhile, I'm going to cancel my camera, the video, so you don't need to have my face in front of the screen as Carl and Mufti Faraz are speaking.
Thanks, Bassem. Yes, like Bassem said, my name's Carl Thornton. I'm the operations director at Acorn Property Invest. Thanks for having us on your panel today. I'd like to take the opportunity initially just to give our attendees a little bit of information on Acorn as a business, obviously where we've come from, and then we'll move quickly on to where we are currently. So Acorn Property Invest is essentially the fundraising division of Acorn Property Group. Acorn Property Group, we were established around 30 years ago now, so we're just come up to our 30-year anniversary. We started as a house builder in North London, where we converted a few houses into apartments in 1995 and then sold those on. We very quickly moved to much larger schemes, primarily in the regions of the South Bank, Shoreditch and Clerkenwell, so the square mile between London and Tower Bridge in London. We went on to complete around 70 mixed-use schemes comprising of hundreds of apartments and office blocks. And then in around the early 2000s, the owners of Acorn decided to expand outside of the UK, outside of the London territories. And then after a lot of due diligence around the country, we came across the southwest of the UK, where they immediately fell in love with both the region in terms of its attraction, but also the opportunity that it gave. Our first office in that region was in Cornwall, in Newquay, in 2006. And then over the years, the last 20 odd years now, we've gone on to become the leading medium-sized house builder in that region. We now have, I think, 5 regional offices. So we have our initial head office in London, Cornwall, Devon, Bristol, and Cardiff, which covers the South Wales region. Since then, we've gone on to complete just over 205 sites to date. We have an internal team of around 175 to 180 people, which means that we can handle everything in-house now as a house builder, whether that be the land acquisition, the planning permission, the development and the build of our developments, as well as the sales and marketing aspects. Our pipeline currently is around 1.2 billion pounds, which is going to represent about 2,500 new homes over the next 3 to 4 years. And over the last, I believe it's 6 or 7 years, we've repaid to our investors around 700 million. As a house builder, we've always raised our money in a very traditional way, which is in the UK, which is known as the capital stack. So we will go to a bank who will provide us around 65% of the money and the funds needed to build these homes. We'll have our own capital into those developments, which is known as the equity layer. And the gap in the middle is called the mezzanine finance layer. That is where Acorn Property Invest comes in. We raise the mezzanine and sometimes a little bit of the equity layer from our investors, of which we have around 3,500 active investors now, receiving very great returns. Around 18 months ago, we started speaking to Holborn Assets. And we came to an agreement and a relationship where we create some exclusive products for the Holborn Assets clientele. And that's one of the opportunities that I'd like to talk to you about today. Recently we've just produced something called our business overview report, which will give investors a good understanding of where we are as a business. But as you can see there, like I just said, our current pipeline is about £1.1 billion. Last year, our turnover was just under £100 million, where we also acquired 7 new sites. We've got 41 sites in various stages of development underway currently. And like you said, as you can see, last year, the value of our residential sales was very, very healthy. We retained around 60 million in new development funding, and we're able to repay just over 200 million in funding to our existing investors. So we're in a very, very good place as a business. To give you an understanding of where we come from and what we've done, I mean, what we're known as is a niche developer. So we are not a national house builder that builds the same home in fields up and down the country. Everything we do is bespoke. And at the end of the presentation, there'll be a little QR code that will allow you to download what's known as Acorn Life, which is our corporate magazine. That will give you a better understanding of the type of sites that we've built. But a small selection here, it will give you an understanding and an idea of exactly how different each site is that we create. So Hope House in Bath, which is my personal favourite completed site, is 58 units. It's a fairly small scheme, which allows us to sell most of our units, pre-launch. It's an award-winning development there. On the right-hand side, you'll see the brown part of the building. That's an original listed building, and the rest of the scheme was all built to fit in the very, very same format and style. Another one of our flagship developments in Falmouth, right on the beach there. This is the site of the old Falmouth Hotel. It's called the Liner. This was again another fully sold out site of 52 units. Again, as you can see, very, very different to the previous one. As far as what we're doing currently, again, I'll show you a very small selection of what we're doing. So St Leonard's Quarter in Exeter, one of the fastest growing cities in the UK, a great university town. First phase of this one's, I believe, almost complete. We already have some of the homeowners moving into the apartments there. This recently won an award in Exeter. Again, it's proven to be very, very popular in terms of the homeowners there. Lee Bay, which is actually my son's favourite site when I took him down there for a little holiday recently. Another former hotel, funny enough. It's a very small development we're building there of 20 units of apartments and houses right on the coast in front of a very beautiful crabbing beach in the UK. We're already taking reservations on there, and we're literally just started clearing the groundwork. So development hasn't really started there, but we've already taken reservations on some of those units. And finally, in South Wales, so our first site in South Wales for a while now, on the site of the Hensel Castle, which is where the Welsh rugby team train. 15 units on that development, 2 to 5 bedroom houses. Because of its location and the prestigiousness of that site, it's also proven very, very popular. And as you can see, everything we build very different from the last site. You won't see 2 developments that are the same with us. So moving on to the investment product that we're here to talk about today. For our Islamic investors, we decided to create a product that allowed them to invest alongside their religious beliefs. Obviously, an interest-bearing investment vehicle is not suitable for our Muslim investors. And as a company that likes to be inclusive, we teamed up with a company called Amana Advisors, which is where Mufti Faraz Adam comes from. So thank you very much for attending today. And for those of you that are maybe new to Sharia investing, I thought it'd be good for us to spend a little bit of time talking about exactly what that means and how that can kind of benefit you as an investor. So for this little bit, I'll hand over to Faraz. I'll mute myself as he's the expert in this field, and he'll talk you through
it. Thank you very much, Carl. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. So look, Sharia investing is a trend now across the world. It's a $3-4 trillion industry, the entire Islamic finance industry in the world, and it's just expected to grow year on year. Of course, it has a very strong foothold in the Middle East and the Far East, but it's definitely growing in across Europe and America as well. But I guess the way just to understand Sharia investing very simply is Islam has a value system, and those values should be extended even in your financial transactions. And the idea is, whenever you invest, you should not be exploiting somebody, neither should you be investing in something which is harmful for people. And that's why the Acorn investment, when it came to our desk, it was very much in line in terms of the business activity, right? They were building homes, empowering people, giving shelter to people, right? So that already aligns with the kind of social impact side of things, which is a key proponent of Islamic values, that how do we impact people in a positive way? But as always, it's not only just about the impact, it's also how do you do the impact? And that's where there was a discussion back and forth on structuring these products, right? And that's where our team at Amana Advisors, our global Sharia advisory firm, we worked with Acorn in developing these contracts that we've developed for Acorn to ensure that the returns that investors receive are not from interest. Because as we know, in the conventional kind of setup, there was bond investments, but from a Sharia perspective, that's not Sharia compliant. Hence, we had to restructure that. So if we go on the next slide, I believe we'll be discussing, the Wakala Note. So I'll hand this back to Carl. We'll just give you a summary of what the Wakala Note is, and then we can go into the details of these structures. But just as a summary in terms of the mechanics and numbers, Carl can break them down for you.
Thank you very much. Yes, so we have structured, as Faraz said then, what's known as a Wakala Note. So this investment is a 3-year fixed term. It is an exclusive product to the Holborn Assets client base. It offers investors a return on either an income basis or a deferred basis. For those that choose the income, it pays 10% returns per year. For those of you that choose the capital growth or deferred option, those returns roll into the end of the term. And for that, you would receive a 12% profit share per year. So a 36% return over that 3-year period. The minimum investment starts at 20,000, whether that be GBP, euros, or US dollars. In terms of the security, we have appointed a company called Blue Water Capital, who are an FCA regulated security trustee. They hold a debenture over the issuer. And we've also got something called a corporate guarantee from the parent company. It's a 2-layer of security that we believe our investors enjoy. And it also shows our belief in what it is that we're doing here at Acorn. There are currency hedges in place. Like I said, there is 3 currency options available to people. So we're not asking anybody to take any form of currency risk. And as we are the issuer, there is no fees or charges for the investor on the entry or the exit of that investment. So it's 100% of the capital is deployed across a range of our sites. So this is not a site-specific offer. We have, like I said, 41 existing sites. These funds are spread out across our portfolio, providing diversification within that investment product. Like I said, this is a product that is exclusive purely to the Holborn clientele. And as you can see, which I just covered there, the security there, which I'd like to reiterate, it's held by Blue Water Capital on behalf of the Wakala Note holders. They act purely in the interest of the Wakala Note holders, and our parent company has provided a 2nd layer of security in the form of that corporate guarantee. It's all very well and good me telling you how great Acorn is. Some of you probably agree that I'm probably biased as I work for this company, but I think our reviews speak volumes online. If you go to FIFO, type in Acorn Property Invest, you'll see that our results are very, very good. I think people appreciate what it is that we're doing here. We provide not only an exceptional investment opportunity, but the communication that we give to our investors along the way, I think is first class. We make sure that we keep people up to date on everything that's happening across all the portfolio of all of our sites and us as a business, as well as the returns that people accrue along the way. So you will expect constant communication to make sure that you don't feel that you come in at the beginning of the term and you don't hear from us until the end of the 3 years. That's very much not the case. Our investors can choose to receive those updates on either 2-weekly or a monthly basis, where they're going to receive constant communication so they can see exactly what's happening with the funds that they've invested across our company. A few frequently asked questions that a lot of the investors ask. I will hand over again back to Faraz now, because I think we're going back to the Sharia compliance. So there's a couple of structures that you're going to hear, and I think it'd be best if Faraz were to explain the difference between the two and how they can work together.
Yeah, so the Murabaha structure is the core underlying investment, and that's how the returns are generated. So, what is a Murabaha? In simple terms, as opposed to you as an investor lending money to Acorn and then paying you back interest with the capital or principal, what's actually happening is you're investing, you're getting a beneficial interest or ownership in property or land, and then you're selling that with a markup. That's the Sharia way to make a return which is lawful for you. Because from an Islamic perspective, lending is not a profit generating activity. I can't lend and gain interest. Lending is a charitable contract. It's just there to help one another. But you can't monetize a loan. Like the other Abrahamic faiths also have this idea. So from how then do we make the Acorn structure compliant from a Sharia perspective? Well, what we did was we created a Murabaha. The beauty of Acorn is because they're this huge company with so many things, end to end, they're doing the development, they have this amazing kind of like setup. That allowed us to find property and be able to then structure it in a way whereby investors get this interest in property or ownership, and then they sell it on with a markup. And that's how the Sharia structure differs from the conventional structure of purely lending. It was a Murabaha. But as I mentioned, this is where your returns are being generated, the underlying activity. So if we move to the next slide, which talks about the Wakala, what is the Wakala then? Well, very simply, the Wakala is simply your relationship between Acorn. So it's you're appointing Acorn as your agent, so to speak, to go and manage this investment for you, do the underlying trade, the Murabaha which we discussed. So as opposed to you coming in and doing everything, the Wakala is more like a hands-off, more like a passive thing. Like, here you go, here's my funds and my investment. I want you to go and do all this on my behalf, which means investing in that property, selling it on my behalf, and generating a return. And that's all it is. So Wakala just wraps up the whole investment in that one note, which Acorn will take care for you, and then give you the return at the end.
Thank you very much. And so I understand the Murabaha is a tri-party agreement. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing. I've already covered this in the last slide, or a couple of slides ago. The minimum investment, 20,000. In terms of the maximum investment, this is a £10 million fundraise. So for the maximum investment would obviously be whatever's left in that raise. So I believe that's circa 5 million currently. So minimum 20,000. For those of you looking to do a larger amount, that would go up to £5 million. And apart from that, I think in terms of the Wakala Note, those are the most common questions that we get, is understanding that structure. So thank you for explaining that for us. Bassem, I think if you're going to come back now, we're going to answer any questions that we've had from the audience. For those of you, like I said a minute ago, if you want to have a little bit more information on the type of products that we've built, the type of sites that we've done, what we do in the community, there's this QR code, then that will take you through to what's known as Acorn Life. That's our local community magazine. And then I'll give you a really good understanding of the type of property that we're building currently and have done in the past. I think you may be on mute there, Bassem.
Oh, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. A lot of information. Very, very exciting. Very, it's very good. I'll keep it at that. And Kapil?
Thank you, Carl and Mufti. I think this has been very informative. You see, this product has come at a time, it's a very interesting time, and for our investors to consider. It's on the back of a demand of customer who wanted a fixed income product, which was away from the volatility of the stock markets and stuff. And I think this is very, very at an opportune time. So thank you very much. And Mufti Faraz, thank you for explaining the Islamic principles, which are quite complex for the layman to consider, but you explained it beautifully. And Carl, thank you very much. Bassem, has been wonderful putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time. And one thing I forgot to mention again, like I said, it's all very well and good hearing about how great Acorn is from me. The company, I think a lot of people will have heard of, is a company called Savills, who are one of the largest property consultancies in the world, and certainly in the UK. We've recently had a report done by Savills on our portfolio of sites. So that, alongside the business overview report that we've just put together on our recent performance, if there are anybody who's really watching that would like to have a look at that, if you speak to Bassem or Kapil or your wealth manager at Holborn, we can make sure that gets sent over to you very, very shortly.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
So do we have any questions? So if you have any questions, please post them on the chat line, and we'll pick it from here. So far, I don't have anything. So I think Carl and Mufti Faraz did a great job explaining everything.
Thank you
very much, guys. I really appreciate being invited on. Faraz, thank you very much for attending. I think your insight,
thank you, Faraz,
on a topic that's complicated for some people to understand. Like Phil said, you explained it in a way that even the layman, simple person like myself can understand. So thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Carl, for explaining all the fundamentals of how this investment is structured.
I'm learning, and I think it was important to work with a company like Amana that can really help you structure something in a way that is truly compliant in terms of the Sharia side, and also help us, guide us and educate us along the way in the journey, so we actually understand a lot more than we did certainly 24 months ago. So thanks so much again.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions right now, and I'm sure for our participants, if you have any questions later, please feel free to reach out to Kapil or myself. We're always here to help you and guide you, and if something too complex for us, of course, we can always go to Mufti Faraz and Carl to help us out.